Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about WeFi. WeFi is a really interesting product that I've actually been kind of hoping for a really long time for a bunch of different reasons. We're going to be talking a little bit more about them today, but potentially they have the ability, in my opinion, to make banks obsolete and really kind of bring the world into the crypto age, which I'm super excited about. This is one of the major things that I actually really appreciate crypto for, and that I really am kind of bullish on the long-term vision of crypto is for this type of stuff. So anyway, we're going to dive right in. We are going to talk about WeFi today. I did want to just give you a quick disclaimer. This is a sponsored video. They have paid me to talk about WeFi. As I always mention, I'm pretty picky. I'm actually very picky with the videos that I choose to kind of take on as sponsorships. If it's not something that I'm personally interested or personally think is like interesting, then I'm not going to do it. And I also do try to do a decent level of due diligence to make sure that it doesn't look like fishy or scammy or anything like that. Because obviously, I really trust your guys's, or I really appreciate your guys's trust. I know you guys, kind of look to me to get hopefully good information and accurate information. And so I want to make sure that, at least to the best of my ability, that, I'm not bringing things that are obviously questionable within the space. And so, that's kind of what I'm really hoping for. But again, that being said, this is obviously not financial advice. I do not have perfect clarity into any of the projects that I talk about, sponsored or otherwise. And so I just, you do have to do your own research. Make sure you do your own deep dives. If you do find anything that looks weird with anything that I ever talk about, of course, I always appreciate your comments and engagement, but I really I'm pretty excited to talk about this one today, just because it's kind of something that sits a little near and dear to my heart. So anyway, all that being said, let's go on ahead. We'll dive right in and we'll talk about WeFi. So first off, we can see your money, your way. We can see that this is essentially kind of putting payment rails on crypto into the real world. This is, in my opinion, a $1 billion plus, maybe even $1 trillion industry. We've kind of seen this with stablecoins. Stablecoins really have no professional backing behind them. And even like USDT, we don't even know if they're audited or have the reserves that they say they do, or a lot of that type of stuff. There's so much crazy stuff going on within crypto. It's very much the wild west. This is exactly what I think we're waiting for. Is you can see that they're backed by Visa, so it's totally like kind of traditional payment rails, but it's actually self-custody if you are interested. So you can self-custody your own funds while still being able to spend them in the real world. This is awesome, right? Because kind of prior to, you really kind of had to have a bank if you want like a debit or a credit card. There's just no other way around it. And so the fact that we are able to self-custody our funds and still be able to have something to access like a Visa credit card, really cool. I think it's awesome. What we can see here is you obviously can spend on the go. You can stake. You've got your digital assets. You've got, I think they mentioned NFTs here, you can store your NFTs and whatnot if you want. You've got DeFi, so you can earn yield on things. Really cool. They are working on gasless ways to spend your yield, which is pretty cool. I think that's very awesome, especially if you guys are familiar with Ethereum fees and you try to buy a $2 coffee, it's going to cost you $3 in fees, which is just ridiculous, right? And so the fact that they're trying to kind of handle some of those transaction costs, I think is really cool. And also, just kind of working around some of these interchange fees. Interchange fees are a big part of the global economy. And so if we can use crypto to kind of work around that, I think that's really awesome. We can see they have physical cards if you're actually needing to go to a brick and mortar store. But also if you're they've got virtual cards too, if you're just looking to pay for your online subscriptions to ChatGPT or Google or Netflix or, whatever it is, then they have that ability as well. This is a super cool ability because you can, at least from what I understand, you can spin up and spin down cards. You can have a lot more a granular control. And the thing that's cool for some of these credit card companies is they are able to do this. And for them, the cost to spin up and spin down credit cards is very minimal, but they almost kind of want you to do that type of thing because it makes it very it limits their exposure from fraud, right? Because if you just have one credit card with $1 million limit on it and somebody hacks your information, then they can go spend $1 million of the company's dollars that ultimately you may not be responsible for if it's a credit card. If it's a debit card, obviously it's a little bit different there. But when you have all these different cards you can spin up, you can set these limits on it, which really allows you to be a lot more careful with your funds in case they actually are to get leaked or something like that, which of course nobody wants to see. But we can see here, how does it work? Very simple. You can do easy sign up, get a spending account. You can choose your self-custody. From what I understand, you can actually import your own, or WeFi will generate one for you if you want that as well. And then you've got essentially lightning fast payment transactions. This is not Ethereum lightning fast payment transactions. This is Visa, credit card, debit card type of lightning fast transactions, which is really cool. The thing that's actually pretty interesting here is they've built their own chain called WeChain. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I do think this is kind of interesting because people can actually run their own nodes, and this is essentially what helps validate the network. And I think part of the reason that they've done this is what you need to do, right? If you're going to custody your own funds, you need a set of node operators and validators to kind of prove out that you're able to custody your own funds and validate when they're sent and spent and all this type of stuff. So that I think is pretty important to their overall ecosystem. But you can see here kind of just a quick deep dive into how they work. You've got the WeFi pool, you've got the WeFi engine, and the payment proxy where you're doing bank transfers, cards, Apple Pay, all that type of stuff. But your wallet sits here, the node operators sit here, and then as you're kind of looking to move funds or swap cryptos, all that type of stuff, then you kind of move into this WeFi pool. So we can also see the team here. First off, they're fully doxed. This is something that I like to see. It means, if they try to pull something that's potentially questionable, we know who they all are. But of course, when we see a team like this, I mean, look at what we got here. We got ex-CEO at Xflow, ex-CEO at Tether, product director at Wise, TradeLeaf, Binance, PwC, Singularity, Net and Legal Legends, Bitpanda, PXP Financial, Mash. I mean, really, really strong background here from all of these people. Plus, we know who they are. I'm pretty happy with kind of what we're seeing here out of the team. It looks like they have kind of the chops to do this type of payment product, right? I mean, Wise is something that does something similar, but not totally the same way, right? I mean, they're kind of trying to bring this into the crypto ecosystem. So they've got a lot of different relevant and I think technical experience here, which I think is really good. We will go in and we will take a quick look at WeChain as well. So you can see everything that they do to ZK. Obviously, I do think this kind of makes sense based on, the fact that they're handling financial and transactional data, stuff like that. So I think that's good. We can take a quick look at the ecosystem. We can see the WeChain. We've got that ZK payment engine. They're actually built on Cosmos, which I think is kind of interesting. And then they've got their WFI token. This is essentially this is the ETH or Bitcoin or whatever. This is the token of the chain, which makes a lot of sense. And it could actually provide real value to the token. Again, I'm always kind of looking what makes this coin or this token valuable. Obviously, this token is valuable because if it supports the WeChain and WeFi is built off of this, and who knows, potentially maybe other payment providers end up, kind of working on WeChain instead of building out their own. Who knows for sure? I don't. But, if WeFi really starts to draw some major volume, then obviously the WFI token becomes more and more valuable. And so they kind of have that back end on WeChain, and they also have the front end with the neobank. So really, really cool stuff. They've got that ZK KYC, which I think is super cool. I think ZK stuff we're gonna continue to see more and more as we kind of move through the future. I'm really interested to kind of see how a lot of this stuff ends up working out. But neobanks are super in right now, and a lot of it's because it's the low overhead. Right? I mean, with low overhead, it means you have to charge your customers less fees. Customers hate bank fees, and also a lot of the times they're not needed, right? And so I think what we're missing and what we're needing in the crypto ecosystem right now is a better way to transact from crypto to the real world and from the real world to crypto. And I think a lot of what these banks are realizing is kind of twofold. One, they can bridge that gap, but two, there's a lot of reasons to bridge that gap, right? One of the reasons is, of course, reducing transaction fees. Another reason is reducing time. Is there realistically any reason we need to wait a day or 2 or 3 for an ACH or a wire or a Swift payment or whatever to go through? No. We're living in the world of crypto. I mean, we're sitting here watching Bitcoin and Ethereum take 10 minutes to transact, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is so slow, right? But yet people in the traditional finance world are waiting hours or days, and sometimes multiple days if it happens on a weekend, because they don't get processed on weekends. So there's a lot of really interesting things going on that I think some of these neobanks are looking to serve. Also, as we all know, the world is becoming increasingly global, right? And when you're trying to pay people globally, it's increasingly difficult, and that's why crypto is so nice. I mean, there's so many people that I pay in USDT or USDC or whatever, just because it's so much more convenient. Wise is a pain in the butt. Wires are way too expensive. PayPal works fine, I guess, but then that means the other person has to have PayPal. There's just a lot of headaches and hurdles, and even the fees can be pretty steep with both of those. So using something like crypto, where it's permissionless, you can just send it and anybody can get a wallet. There's no anything that needs to happen. I don't know. To me, it just makes sense, right? And so building a neobank off of this type of infrastructure, I think Well, yeah, of course, right? I mean, I think we're going to be seeing a ton of people doing this. And so the fact that WeFi is kind of already here building it out makes a lot of sense, and I think is very promising. We also can take a look at their X account here. We can see, been around since May of 2024. So, it has some decent following there. Also 19,000 followers. They've also got, if you want to stay up to date with a lot of what they're doing, you can see the virtual cards coming. We got Apple, Google Pay compatible, local global payments on crypto rails, borderless financial access, self-custody banking. I think the self-custody banking, in my opinion, is really, really cool. Like the fact that you can have a debit card, or maybe even, I think it's only debit cards right now, but with like self-custodying, like that's cool. Like you're literally your own bank, but you can actually spend your money in all the places in the world. Like that to me is really cool. So obviously we can see, they've got a legit Twitter. A lot of the stuff they're obviously, posting about their token here and there. We can see a FDV of 431 million. Not too bad. I wouldn't call that a micro cap or even a small cap probably, but I mean, it's not necessarily huge. We can see the market cap is only 4 million right now, which does mean they have an extreme amount of tokens locked up. Again, not a huge deal, but just something to be considerate of as you're kind of doing your due diligence and looking through all of this. So, but overall, I'm pretty happy with kind of everything that we're seeing here. This is something I think is very, very sorely needed in the space, particularly, I'm an American, so I don't think about a lot of this stuff too often, but we also have to think about the unbanked part of the world, right? I mean, this is a very, very large, I would say this is probably a plurality, if not the majority of the world, is either some form of unbanked or deals in a currency that maybe isn't the most reliable. Think about, Argentina 1 to 2 years ago when they were having hyperinflation. I mean, the money really wasn't worth the paper it was printed on after about, a couple hours or maybe even a day at most, right? And so the fact that like this technology is allowing the world to, one, be their own banks. They don't even need a bank. And two, interact with whoever, whenever, wherever, using whatever value, like method of value exchange that they find accrual. That's awesome. And I think this is a massively like gaping hole in just the overall global economy. And so I do think crypto is the way that makes the most sense to do this. I think WeFi is completely hit the nail on the head here in terms of how they can solve it, which is obviously, why I am bullish and talking about it. And that aside from, the fact that this is a sponsored video. So I just want to talk to you guys about that today, at least, kind of show you guys what they are doing, kind of some of the new horizons of what we are seeing in crypto. I think this kind of crypto payment rails is going to be massive. I know of several different companies trying to solve similar problems in different ways, similar to what WeFi is doing. So I think this is going to be huge. I think we're going to see a lot of this over here in the very, very near future. So I would say very much like stay tuned. I'm very interested to kind of see how this goes. I will have all the links to the description, or the links to like WeFi's X and their WeChain and the WeFi like neobank site, all that type of stuff. I'll post that in the description below just so we have all of them. And if you guys want to check them out, always be careful of scam links. I don't think I've seen too many in my comment section lately. Again, knock on wood. I'm sure we'll get there eventually, but just always make sure you're aware of scam links. I would say probably don't click anything that doesn't show up in the video description. That would be kind of my recommendation. But overall, hopefully you guys found the information in this video useful. Like I said, I really am super passionate about this type of thing. Aside from just making gains in crypto, this I do think will be a massive good just for the world overall. So they're always happy to talk about this type of stuff. If you do have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, just leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you guys think about WeFi as well, because I think it's a very, very interesting concept. I'd like to also know, am I just out in left field, or do you guys tend to agree with how I'm kind of viewing the context in which a product like this could do incredibly well? So anyway, like I said, comment, like, subscribe, all that type of stuff. Love to hear from you guys. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.